It started like any other Saturday morning. I was sipping on my coffee, curled up on the corner of my couch when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my friend Jessica. "Hey, can you come over tonight? We want to talk to you about something." It read. I blinked at the message, rereading it 3 times. The vagueness of it made my curiosity spike. Jessica and I had been close since college, and we had shared everything from failed relationships to job wins. But the added "we," as in she and her husband, Brad, made the message feel different. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then replied with a casual, "Sure, what time?" She quickly responded with, "7 works." And I confirmed. The rest of the day crawled by. I kept imagining what this mystery conversation could be about. Did they need a favor? Were they planning something? Was it a surprise? My mind jumped to everything from baby announcements to maybe needing help moving. When 7 p.m. rolled around, I pulled into their driveway, smoothing out my jeans as I stepped out. Jessica opened the door before I could even knock. She was smiling, but there was something in her eyes, something unreadable. Brad was in the kitchen pouring wine, and the moment he saw me, he smiled too. "Hey, Taylor. Come on in," he said warmly. I stepped inside, hanging my purse on the hook by the door. We all sat down in their living room. The wine was flowing, and the conversation started easy. We talked about work, mutual friends, even a show we all liked. But then the mood shifted. Jessica looked at Brad, then back at me. "So," she said, placing her glass on the table, "we wanted to ask you something, and it's kind of out there." My heart started beating faster. "Okay," I said slowly, trying to sound casual, though inside I was completely on edge. Jessica glanced again at Brad, who nodded slightly, like giving her the go-ahead. She took a breath. "Brad and I have been talking a lot about something lately. And we've been thinking about starting a family." I smiled, genuinely happy for them. "That's great," I said. "You'd be amazing parents." But then she shook her head. "It's not just that. We've been trying for over a year. And nothing's working. We saw doctors, tried medications, and..." She looked down. "I can't carry a child." I froze, my breath catching in my throat. "Jessica, I'm so sorry," I whispered. Her eyes were glossy now, but she forced a smile. Brad reached over and held her hand. "We're not giving up though," he said. "Which brings us to what we wanted to ask you." I felt something shift in the air again. I looked from Jessica to Brad, waiting. Jessica straightened her back and met my eyes. "We were wondering if you'd consider being our surrogate." The words landed in my ears like thunder. My mind went blank for a second, then filled with noise. "Wait, what?" I asked, stunned. "You want me to carry your baby?" Jessica nodded slowly. "We know it's a lot. And we don't expect an answer tonight. But you're the only person we trust this much. The only one we could imagine asking." Brad added, "You're healthy, responsible, and you've always been there for Jessica. We would cover all expenses. And of course, we'd have lawyers to make everything official and safe for everyone." I sat there speechless. I didn't know what to say. I loved Jessica like a sister, and Brad had always been good to her. But this was huge. Life-changing. "I don't even know what to say," I finally admitted. Jessica reached for my hand. "You don't have to say anything now. We just wanted to ask. We thought about it for months before coming to you." The rest of the evening passed with warm conversation and reassurance that they'd understand no matter what I chose. But when I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I lay awake most of the night, imagining what it would be like. The physical changes, the emotional roller coaster, the long-term implications. It was a massive commitment. Over the next week, I researched everything I could about surrogacy. The legal side, the medical side, the emotional toll. I even spoke to a therapist, just to understand my own feelings better. And eventually I came to a decision. I invited them over to my apartment for dinner that weekend. When they arrived, they were nervous, I could tell. They tried to hide it, but the tension was palpable. Once we finished eating, I took a deep breath and looked at them. I've thought a lot about what you asked, I began. Jessica was already holding her breath. And I've decided to say yes. Tears welled up in Jessica's eyes instantly. Brad looked stunned and then grateful. Are you serious? She asked. He nodded. Yes. I want to help you have the family you've dreamed of. But we have to do this the right way. With clear boundaries, legal protections, counseling, everything. Jessica threw her arms around me, crying, thanking me over and over. Brad hugged me too, more reserved but just as heartfelt. That night changed the dynamic of our friendship forever. We began the process soon after. There were medical evaluations, legal meetings, psychological screenings. Everything had to be precise and professional. Once the embryo transfer was complete, it took a few tries before we finally got a positive result. The day we got confirmation that I was pregnant, Jessica cried harder than I'd ever seen. Brad had to sit down, completely overwhelmed. Over the next few months, our bond deepened. Jessica came to every doctor's appointment, holding my hand during ultrasounds. Brad brought meals and made sure I had everything I needed. Of course, it wasn't always easy. Hormones, physical discomfort, and the complexity of carrying someone else's child brought moments of confusion and emotional overload. I had days when I questioned if I had made the right decision, days when I missed my own space or felt too emotionally connected to what was growing inside me. But every time I saw Jessica's face light up hearing the baby's heartbeat, or Brad talking about nursery plans, I remembered why I said yes. 9 months later, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Jessica and Brad were in the room with me, both crying the moment they heard her first cry. The nurses cleaned and swaddled the baby and handed her to Jessica, who held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Brad stood beside her, eyes red, smiling through tears. I watched them from the bed, exhausted but full of peace. It was the most selfless, strange, and beautiful thing I'd ever done. They named her Lily, and even though I wasn't her mother in the traditional sense, they made sure she would always know how she came into the world. Jessica and Brad still invite me over often. Lily knows me as Aunt Taylor, and every time she smiles at me, I feel an unexplainable warmth. Not everyone understood my decision, and some people even judged it. But I knew in my heart that I did something good, something lasting. Life went on. I returned to my normal routine, but the experience had changed me. I became more empathetic, more aware of how deeply people long for things they can't always achieve alone. And through it all, I never lost my friendship with Jessica. If anything, it grew stronger. Looking back, I never would have imagined that a simple text from my best friend would lead to one of the most profound chapters of my life. It was an offer I never saw coming, but one I'll never regret accepting.